Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, and today we are going to go into Homeschooling 101. This is actually a free course. Yes, but it is very meaty, meaning it has a lot of detail, but by the end of this course, you're going to understand what you need to do before you start homeschooling so that your transition from public school perhaps to homeschooling will be easier. Or if you are just starting out and you're trying to decide whether or not you're going to send your child to public school or not, this will be a great entryway for you to know where to begin. As a homeschooling veteran, I get asked so many questions. People ask me, what should I do? How should I start? I don't know where to start. And so this course, Homeschooling 101, 7 things you need to know before you start homeschooling, should prove very beneficial for you. And so what we're going to do, we are going to go ahead and get into this presentation because like I said, this is a very detailed course, and we have a lot of information to cover. So get your pen, your paper, get you some extra pens, not just one. And also if you need a little snack, something to drink, because we are going to have a longer discussion. And remember, this is a pre-recorded course, so therefore you can stop and start however you want. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started because I'm so super duper excited. For those of you who may not know me or know this Southern twang, I am born and raised in South Carolina. I am your instructor today. I am Dr. Tina J. Ramsey. I went through many different things in my life. I had a stroke at the age of 25 years old, 25, 26, that left me partially paralyzed from the waist down. I actually had amnesia, lost 12 months of my life memory. And during that 12 months, I had just become a new mother. All right. A new mother. My baby was 6 months old when I had my stroke. I just went to sleep one night, woke up, and my life was different. My life has changed forever. And so the challenges from that, and also determining, once I was able to, with God's help, I was able to reclaim, I would say, be able to get my power back in the bottom of my extremities. But it was a long haul, and I got most of my memory back, thanks to God. But through that, it made me really appreciate and be grateful for everything that I have. Being able to walk, being able to remember, being able to talk, being a mom. And so homeschooling is a way that you, as a parent, whether you are a mother, a father, a grandmother, grandfather, or a guardian over an amazing young person, it opens up you the opportunities to be able to teach them, help mold them, help them grow, and really enjoy them. I have been in the educational industry for over 25 years, did a plethora of volunteer work over the past 30 years. You will see me in various different community-driven activities because I'm a servant leader at heart, and I love to use my God-given gifts and talents in order to help inspire, motivate, and help you find your happy place. And so with that being said, I also have a child that has a high functional autism and dyslexia, severe dyslexia. And I am a behavior specialist, and my expertise is special needs education. I also have a fantastic daughter as well who graduated as gifted and talented. So as a homeschooling mom, I am very, I would say, eclectic in the way of my approach, because I have had one child that was, have autism and multiple different learning differences. And then I have another child that was in the top 4% of the most smartest children in our county. And so how can you still give both children equal love and be able to help them thrive, and you're only one parent? And I am also the co-founder of a thriving community of 23,000 homeschooling parents around the world. So how can I do the things right and be able to still be that inspiration and be able to be there for my children, as well as 23,000 homeschooling parents who have some of the same things that I had to face, or even greater. And so I use my gifts to be able to help in that way. So you will see that I have been on many different television shows. I have my own multiple podcast shows. I have my own television shows. I have my own books. And also we have the world-renowned Homeschooling Interactive magazine. So you will see me speaking about various different things. I am a full-time entrepreneur, and I am happy to say, as of this year, my baby just graduated high school. And we have 2 graduates of high school. So we have been very successful on our homeschooling journey. So with that, let me go ahead and move right on in. So what are the 7 things you need to know before you start homeschooling? And today we're going to go over 7 different things. Number 1, you need to understand the legal requirements and regulations to homeschool. Now, I am not a lawyer. I'm just giving you all this information for educational purpose only. And in regards to legal help and other type of help, you need to consult with a professional in regards to that. But this is for educational purposes only. Number 2, how can you choose the right homeschooling approach? Because there's various different ways that you can homeschool, and it can become overwhelming when you are new and you realize, oh my goodness, it's a lot of different approaches. Which one is going to work for my family or for my child or children? Then next, how can you create a homeschooling schedule and environment that is conducive to you and your life, right? And the big one, socialization and building a homeschooling community. Number 5 is just the progress and adapting. How do you adapt to the approach of homeschooling? Once you start teaching, how can you measure whether or not you need to tweak or do different things based upon how much your kids know at that point? Number 6 is handling the challenges that homeschooling can sometimes present and stay motivated. Number 7 is how can you prepare for this homeschooling journey more effectively after having all of this information? What should you do next? And the bonus information, which is a project, yes, project for you, because you're going to create your homeschool action plan. So let's get right into the discussion with module 1. Understand the legal requirements and regulations. So in this part, we are going to talk about how homeschooling is governed, a variety of different laws and regulations. I want you to understand that it different. It says differ here, but it's different from each state. So you need to understand what are the homeschooling laws in your particular state. How can you make sure you be in step with those laws, and also the educational authorities. And so you need to check and do your due diligence and your research so you can make sure that you are in step with the law based upon your state. For example, I'm in South Carolina, and we have what we call a moderate state. A moderate state means that we do have some oversight from the school district, that we do have to do some reporting. However, it is not strict where we have to have people come in and do this, that, and the third. So, but we do have to do journaling. We have to turn in report cards, a lot of different things, right? Some states you don't even have to do that. So find out what you have to do and then do your best to stay in line with it. So when we think about the overview of the different laws in the different states and also countries, because some of you that follow us, you're in a different country, so this will even change for you. You need to understand the homeschooling laws and how they vary across different regions, because you may be in a place that you don't have to do any oversight and it's not strict at all, whereas what we call relaxed homeschooling states. But then your friend might live in a state that is not relaxed. So you have to follow your state For instance, in the United States, each state over here in the United States, not in the different countries, because I'm not familiar with the countries, but within the United States, we all have different laws and regulations that we have to do in regards to reporting. But you need to, once you understand these legal frameworks for your state and your county, homeschooling will be a breeze for you. So every state has a mandate on how many days you are supposed to homeschool your child per year. And so what is it based upon your child's age and the attendance? And so you need to make sure that you meet those requirements so that you will, again, be in step with the law. Record keeping is very important, and assessment obligations if you have to do that in your state. If you have record keeping, mostly all, I would encourage you, even if you don't have to do record keeping in your particular state, I encourage you to do record keeping, because it's just a great rule of thumb to be able to track what you're doing and how you're doing it. And just in case you need to show any type of documentation when you're trying to get your child scholarships, grants, get them into special programming, you will not have to go and try to create something on a whim. You will already have that documentation ready, which will not delay the process of your child getting the resources that you want them to have and being able to participate in whatever it is that you want them to participate in. So it's very good for you to know and also write down how many days, because over here we have to have at least 180 days of teaching instruction for homeschooling in South Carolina. Of course, we always went over those days, but you have to have at least 180 days over here in South Carolina. And based upon that, you also, based upon certain subjects, you have to have so many instructional hours. And when you think about curriculum, every state is a little bit different in regards to what they require you to teach, but normally the basic subjects, reading, math, science, social studies, and some sort of elective is usually the common rule of thumb. But of course, you need to see what that is in your state. Now, sometime when you're homeschooling, based upon what type of homeschooling you are doing, you have to have obligations to do assessment of your children. What is an assessment? Assessment is to test your child, basically like the SAT, or they're testing your child to see how much knowledge your child has retained through your teaching process, and based on that, what grade level are they on. Now, sometime when you homeschool in certain states, you do not. It's up to the parent whether or not they decide to assess their children or not. But then in other states, they have to, it's a requirement that they have to do an assessment just like they would do in public school. So therefore, that's why I keep telling you, you have to understand the law, and you have to understand the law for your particular state, because sometimes you cannot administer the test. You have to have a certified teacher, someone that is outside of your homeschool, to come in and facilitate the testing. And in some cases, there is a test or a fee that you have to pay, and then in some cases they're not, but it's based upon where you are and what the requirements is. And so you need to understand that. So then we have some different things that's local. So you need to research the requirements in the homeschooling laws for your state and county or country. You need to submit, if your child is currently in school, you need to submit a notice of intent. This notice typically includes basic information such as your child's name, age, and the intended date that you plan to homeschool your child. Think about it like this. If your child is currently enrolled in public school, think about what you had to do to get your child enrolled in school. You had to fill out documentation. You had to do certain things in order for them to accept your child in school. So it's the same process that you will have to do in order to withdraw your children from school. And this is where a lot of parents go wrong, because you feel like, parents and guardians, because you feel like, okay, so this is my child. This is my child. I can do what I want. Well, within limit, because let me explain. Once you sign your child up for school, your child is no longer your child. Your child is a number inside of the federal government of education, which means that now there is not, your child is a number, and that number is attached to a dollar amount that the state or the federal government sends to that particular school for funding for that child. Each child inside of a school is a number that is attached to a dollar amount, and that dollar amount changes based upon whether there are special needs, whether they're gifted and talented, whether they're, it changes. Okay. And so it is basically the business of education. So if you want to remove your child from the public school system, please follow the letter of the law and do it legally, and go in and ask for a formal and notice of, you turn in your notice of intent, or I say go get a withdrawal, either or, but never ever go to a school and sign documents and do not get a copy. Make sure that you get a copy for your own records, because you never know, you may need to show it one day, right? But if you don't, cool. But if you do, you want to have it. And 9 times out of 10, if you try to get it after the fact, you will not be able to get it. But again, make sure that you do that. So you need to also follow all the guidelines that you need to do in order to remove your child. So follow the guidelines. Sometimes this can be a very stressful situation for some parents, because, sometimes the schools are not very nice when you want to remove your child from the school. And sometimes they're very friendly. It just depends. But make sure you go in cool, calm, and collected, because think about why you decide to homeschool your child. And so don't allow anyone to agitate you or get up under your skin so they will have ammunition to say that you are an unfit parent, or that you, have ill intent in mind. You want to make sure that when you're going in to do this, that you keep the utmost dignity and respect, even if they're not doing that to you, because you are representing now your new homeschooling private entity. And you do not want any type of issues with that. So from that point on, you want to keep the records of everything and every type of communication that you have with the school until everything is finalized, and you keep those records for yourself. Now, with standardized testing, we're not going to go that deep into this, but just know that some homeschooling states, some states require you to, and some states do not. It's totally up to the parent. Some people feel like it's a good idea to do this because it's preparing them for college. So based upon whatever homeschooling journey that you have, will basically determine what you want to do. Some people, they love to do the standardized test. Some people, they don't. But I will let you know this, that now there are colleges that do accept your children without PSAT and SAT scores. There are schools that look to bring in homeschooling children, and then make the process transition very easy for your children to be able to go live on campus or go back and forth. They really love homeschooling children, because they realize that our children, they come in and they think and operate differently from a traditional child that's in public school. They're usually used to doing a heavy course load. They're used to a structure. They're used to a lot of different things, meaning they get the work done, even if it's untraditional. So make sure that you do this, and don't worry. After this, you will be able to have access to all the slides. So don't worry if you can't read everything, because the slides are here, but I do not read anything verbatim. And so don't worry, you're going to have these slides later. So take a breath. I can feel the nervousness, like, oh my God, I didn't read all of that. It's going to be okay. And so one thing that I have found that has been a godsend for me, a blessing, I would say, was to be a part of homeschooling associations. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to build a homeschooling community, because during this time, you don't know what you don't know. But I'm going to tell you, what you don't know can hurt you. Okay, many people say what you don't know can't hurt you. Yes, it can, especially when it's dealing with anything in life, but especially something dealing with homeschooling when you want to make sure you follow the letter of the law. So join homeschooling associations. Don't be afraid to ask those questions if you don't understand the legal mumbo jumbo that's going on, because some of the jargon is not familiar language. So if you don't understand, ask questions. You need to also subscribe to legal newsletters so that you can understand the terminology from the educational side of the law. And you need to attend workshops and webinars that's speaking about homeschooling topics like you're doing today. These are usually more long and drawn out discussions because you have to address a lot of different things. But take your time. When you feel like you're overwhelmed with any course, webinar, the only thing you have to do is pause. In this case, the only thing you have to do is stop the course, and then you come back to the rest of it again. But know that you can do it, right? And also, you from time to time, it's a good idea for you to review government websites that is government websites that address the educational side, the laws, like the school district, what's your school district doing, what you're doing in your county, to see what the children are doing, and based upon that, you can get an outline on what you want to create. You need to find legal support. So it's different things that you can do on this frontier. So I would encourage you to connect with local and national homeschooling associations. You can also research for associations, because they have so many different national ones as well as local ones. Look for legal information and advocacy. Look for groups that's tailored to support. Like we have, I will tell you about it later. We have some homeschooling support groups that's on Facebook. And also we have other communities that's outside, like CTR homeschooling. So join to be a member of these groups and these associations. Participate in events that you see, and any type of online. If you do not have access or accessibility for having a vehicle, because many homeschooling parents live either off the grid or they live in the country, and sometimes you just don't come to town but so many times a month, if that is your case. But we do have people that live in the city, so don't get me wrong, but we do have households that have one vehicle. So what are you to do with one vehicle if your significant other is using the vehicle for work? Well, utilize online communities, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channels that's talking about homeschooling. Build your community. Find local libraries. All that will be beneficial and helpful. That we have what they call a legal defense organization. So you can look for those that support homeschoolers. Of course, you can consult your own attorney, and you need to use all the type of resources that are out there, from the legal hotlines to the consulting services, from even educational consultants like myself that specialize in helping homeschooling parents de-stress the homeschooling process. That's one reason why I started sharing my knowledge. Now, I do not profess, nor am I a lawyer or can give you legal advice. What I'm doing is just simply sharing my experiences, and also and this information is for educational purposes only, for you to go do your own due diligence and find the professionals that you need, or seek them out so that they can help you on whatever it is that you need to do from a legal standpoint. But homeschooling consultants, homeschooling coaches are so beneficial, because we can help you get from point A to point B with less stress. So, module 2, choosing the right homeschooling approach. Now, this is something that have parents going in a tailspin, because we have so many options. And most of the time when your child is in public school, you don't even think about this topic. Because I know my children was in public school, I didn't even think about different learning styles and approaches. But you will find when you are creating curriculum, or you are using curriculum and you are homeschooling your children, you start thinking differently. Like if they're not understanding it, the information, the way that it's presented, you start saying, well, how can I tap into my child's unique learning ability to make learning fun? So there are very different philosophies that's out there when it comes down to homeschooling. There's various different approaches that you can look from. Some people do methodology. Some people focus on underlying principles. Some people are secular, meaning they do have no religion in it. Some people are purely Christian based. Some people are blended. They do a little secular, they do a little Christian or religious based. So it just depends on what your homeschooling philosophy is. What is your mantra? But let me give you some ideas. So basically, traditional homeschooling, this is homeschooling terminology 101. So when you think about traditional homeschooling, this approach mirrors the conventional schooling with the structure, with schedules, textbooks, grades, assignments, and it often follows the same curriculum that can be used in either a public school or a private school, but you deliver it all the information in the homeschooling environment. So basically, traditional homeschooling can be two ways. It can be you're taking the same structure of what they do in public and private school, and you just bringing school into your home the exact same way, or you're taking traditional homeschooling, even though you have to teach those topics, but you're flipping it and doing it your unique way that approaches your child unique learning style. Now, I would not suggest that if you are say this for parents that are removing their children from public school, and public school just was not working for your child. It was a very tedious, non-working, stressful thing for your child to be in public school. It was a reason why you decided to pull your child out of public school. So I give you this warning that from experience, I literally bought public school home to my homeschool, and that was one of the worst decisions I ever made because it wasn't working, right? And so why would you reinvent the wheel when the wheel wasn't working? Which means that you need to do something different, figure out a new delivery of the pro. So it made homeschooling for the first year and a half very stressful for my children because it was very rigorous, and it was the same thing that they did in public school. So when I changed and found our own homeschooling journey, our own homeschooling stride of how we learn within the letter of the law of the things that we had to teach. And then I had flexibility in bringing new, exciting things in. It really made for an exciting overall homeschooling experience. Now, then we have what we call classical education. This is when you, during the elementary years, you might use, you might divide it into multiple different methods or the different stages of grammar for years. So you would teach on a certain topic and you will gradually build on it, kind of like Legos. Then you would have logic during middle school and high school. It would gradually go up. And this emphasizes the study of classical language and literature, logical thinking. So you're building your whole curriculum around the classics, literary masterpieces, literary music, math. And when you go into literature very deeply, you will see that every facet of education is tied up in classical education, from art to music to your body to science to language arts. Everything is tied up in classical, because you'll find there's many different people that did various different things from the classical perspective when you start digging in history. Now, Montessori is an excellent way, but you need to have some discipline with this because it's mostly self-directed learning. What is self-directed learning? Now, some people get a little, I don't know. Let's see. How can I say this? Montessori is very good for the child that does not learn a traditional way. But they need to learn, but they need to be more self-directed, and it has to be hands-on. So you will have more hands-on activity. It's learning from life more. You're learning through discovery. Your child focuses on natural curiosity from an individual standpoint of their development level at that time. And you have a whole lot of manipulatives. What are manipulatives? It's things that you can use. Like, for example, when you do math, you just don't have a worksheet, a pen, paper, or whatever. You have blocks, you have Legos, you have pizza, You tie everything into a hands-on learning, self-directed experience. And most kids love this approach. They absolutely love it. Now, being as a parent, it do take more time, more investment, more forethought in order to inculcate the subjects in a way that is now changing from pen and paper, or from book and paper, from black and white words, into the living of life. But once you figure out how to do that, which is not hard, they have curriculum out there, people. You will see a child blossom. We did the Montessori, we did a blend. We was what they call eclectic homeschool. So we did a little bit of everything. But then we have this thing called unschooling. Now, this can be very controversial because some people feel like unschooling is not the thing that you should be doing. It is not really learning and but I have seen so many people be successful with unschooling because it's unschooling, but it's directed in a way that the children just thirst for it like water. So unschooling is basically not self-directed, but it's child-led. So anything that your child is interested in, that will lead the education experience. So it allows for that child's interest to just basically guide the entire learning experience. And then you as a parent will structure your homeschooling experience around the structure of what that child is interested in. And then you're focused and you build your curriculum around real life experiences, exploration, self-initiated learning, rather than being fixed on a certain curriculum. And that style, I would say, for me, when your children are super duper young, this is ideal, having because many people say, what should you do with toddler? I need to get a curriculum for my toddler. I don't feel like you need to get a curriculum from your toddler, but some people do, and it's okay with however you want to do it. But for me, unschooling was a great way because you let the child lead the way. And when they're younger, they have time to explore. But as you get older, I feel that having some structure is a good thing. But you should allow yourself, by that time you will know, I would say, your child's genius zone. Because for me, I tested out a lot of different methods and ways. And when I found out the way that my children thrive, and I just kept doing it that way. So no matter what we did, we brought in those pieces. So we have what is a very popular method, which is the Charlotte Mason. So this approach is more driven like through science, nature, literature, the arts. It has a little mimicking of Montessori. It has a little bit of child-led, which is unschooling. It's kind of like a blend in my mind, how I explain it. You have focused lessons, but it's with living books. So instead of textbooks, you're fostering an environment of love for learning through exposure to a wide range of subjects. Okay, so you'll be doing notebooking, you'll be doing all kind of different things that is not traditional, but you're covering traditional stuff, if that makes sense. So you might not call it science, but you're on a nature walk. What is that? Nature, right? So it's science. You may be doing language arts, but you're not calling it language arts. You're calling it drama, plays, right? Poetry. But that falls up under the category. So get creative. Now, I have never done the Waldorf education, but some people do this where it's dealing with mostly holistic learning, dealing with intellectualism, artistic, doing practical skills of your kids, which is nothing wrong with that because I do add life skills into my curriculum for my children. So do some more research on that. If you think that tickle your fancy, you go on into that. Now, what I was eclectic. We wasn't a relaxed homeschool because we did have some things that was structured, but we was very eclectic, meaning that based upon my child and their interest level in the topic will determine whether I went more child-led whether I went more, which was unschooling, whether I went more Montessori approach, whether I went more traditional, based upon the level of interest my child had in that particular topic. So I pretty much customize the experience based upon their interest level on the topic. Let me explain what I'm saying. My daughter, now she made straight A's and B's in every single topic, every single subject other than math. Math was always her struggle point. Okay, so instead of doing the traditional way, which we still use books, we also added in a lot of Montessori-like things. So when we did fractions, we ate pizza and we broke up the different things. We cooked the cake or pie. We would go in the kitchen and read the ounces on the cans, the canned goods. We would go get our frozen vegetables and read how many pounds and ounces. We would go in the grocery store and make it a scavenger hunt. Find if you had 2 ounces of this and 3 ounces of that, how could you get to that? All right, we would do, instead of using a standard measuring, we would get the measuring tape and we will measure the framework of the house, the doors, the windows, the car. We would do things. We would actually measure out clothing, and I had her sewing. So we're doing the math, but the math is done in a different way, and it made it fun. We turned the whole house into a grocery store. Then we turned their bedroom into their own duplex apartment, and I was the landlord, and I came to get the rent, the utilities, the gas, the groceries, the bill, like all of that, the taxes, paying the taxes. So you have to be creative when your child has a topic or subject that just not their thing. I mean, it's normal. Don't think just because you're homeschooling your children that they're going to be great at everything. That's just not realistic. Now, we hope that, but think about yourself. Are you great at every single subject or topic for school? I highly doubt it, because I'm not. And so don't put so much pressure on yourself just because you're homeschooling, saying that, hey, they have to be excellent in everything. Now, you do want them to be able to have a good understanding and be able to do things and be self-sufficient, but some topics are just as that. It is what it is. Now my daughter, of course, now she's an adult. She has her own money, her own income, and all that, and she's good with it now. But in school, it was a struggle sometimes. So you want to make sure that you align. So many times, like for us, we had our ethics, morals, principles, and standards. That was our philosophy of our family values. And those family values was attached to goals. So as a family, you can decide what your family values are, what your educational goals, what's the need of each child if you have more than one child. And as a parent, what are your needs? Because many times as a homeschooling parent, we don't even think about our needs. We just think about the needs of our children, and you can lose yourself in the homeschooling experience and get burnt out when you don't give yourself some time. So you need to reflect on your values, and meaning, do you prefer flexibility in your schedule, more creativity? What is the most important things to your family? You can consider your child's needs, personality, interests, learning style, the environment that you are creating in your home. You need to set educational goals. Like my daughter, math wasn't her thing. However, for my son, math was his thing, but spelling wasn't his thing because he's dyslexic. Okay. And he didn't care too much for reading because he's dyslexic, right? So I had to flip from just having him read books to him having the book and the audio, or having what they call video textbooks. Did you know they have video textbooks? Well, yes, they do. They have video textbooks and audio textbooks. So I look for curriculum that had the video, the audio, and the book. Why? Is because I wanted my son to be able to be independent. All right. I did not want him to depend on me for everything. And I wanted to teach him that even though he has a learning difference, but there are various different tools and things that will help him get to point A to point B being independent and being self-sufficient, right? And it gives him, or any child, whether girl or boy, confidence to know that I didn't want him to think just because he learns differently that he could not accomplish the same thing another person can do. All right. You might have to go about it a different way, but you still can do it. It may take you a little longer, but you can still do it. You may have to get some assistance, but that's okay. And so what proved very beneficial for me was having those video books, audio books, and the book so he can see the words and be able to hold on to it a little bit better. Also having games that was actively playing with, we would play ball and different things like that and spell out the words because he needed to move in order to learn. That's called kinetics learning. We'll get into that a little bit later. But that worked for me. And for my daughter, of course, with math, she loves to eat. So, honey, we was in the kitchen cooking, doing all kind of measurements and adding, subtracting, multiplication, division, all that in the kitchen. Also, don't get so tied up in all of the curriculum. Curriculum is good, but you can sometimes you can overdo with curriculum and spend too much money. I tell you that for me, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars in curriculum. Then sometimes I didn't spend anything. What happened is that I had to learn that it's not the curriculum that makes this topic. It's you as the educator, the experience. And I had to learn that just because one curriculum worked for one child, I had to stop being stubborn thinking, oh, I have to make it work for the other child when it just was not working. Sometimes you're going to run into the situation where your children, if you have more than one child, one curriculum is not going to work for the whole family because everybody's a little bit different. So how can you take that one curriculum and adjust it in a way that, number one, you can save some money. Number two, that you can still address the needs or unique needs of your child or children. And number three, make it exciting. So I am very good at taking anything and making a curriculum. I'm easy with taking a curriculum and adjusting it in a way to make it for any learning style. That is my gift because I had to learn over time. And so you can pretty much, I made curriculum out of dictionaries, sales papers. I mean, the list can go on and on. So I don't want you to think that in order for your child to be successful in homeschooling, you have to have the highest price curriculum on the face of the planet, because I have had that as well as the cheapest. And let me tell you something. I got some of the best things for some of the cheapest curriculum out there because it was not the curriculum. It was the mindset behind it. Once I learned the skill of how to make any curriculum what I needed it to become for my child's unique learning styles, it was a game changer. So if you need help with that, just let me know. And I love doing that. It's so much fun. And also you can customize the learning experience with various different learning plans. You can Google stuff online to find it. You can watch YouTube videos. You can get with a homeschooling consultant like myself that specializes in helping you build out your own curriculum. But you definitely, if you're having some issues, you definitely need to get some help because that's why we're here. So we have what we call age-appropriate materials for you engaging. And this is different for each child. I tell people that you cannot base your child's abilities and what you want them to learn at a certain time based upon age only. Some children may be 13 years old, chronological age 13, but their emotional age, their mental age, their emotional age is 9. So certain topics, certain subjects, you should not, certain topics within the subject you need to address based upon their emotional age and not their chronological age. But with that being said, there's certain things that we do have to do, and then you can kind of adjust it based upon your child's abilities. So that's why it's so important for you to know your child's learning level. It's good for you as a parent to do that type of assessment. You can do that. If you do not want to bring someone into your household to do the assessment, you can purchase tests and let your child take the test, and then you can determine. It's online as well as paper. You can incorporate interest driven things to choose the materials that your child is interested in. You can balance those core subjects that you have to teach and those electives so it can be a well-rounded educational experience. And for me, I always say, make it fun, make it interactive, make it hands-on. The more things that you make hands-on where the child is getting immersed into that topic or subject, the better, and it sticks better. Field trips are always good. Experiments, educational games. There's even a thing called game schooling. Okay, where you just use games. And trust and believe, I did that too. And so keep in mind there are also online resources, textbooks, and alternative educational tools that you can use to facilitate when you are choosing the right approach to homeschool your child. You do not have to do just one thing. I encourage you to be a microcosm. You do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, until you figure out what it is that works best. And then once you figure that out, then you keep going with that. No matter who or what is doing whatever, you keep to what's working. I absolutely love educational apps, documentaries, using podcasts for my children, different movies and television shows, incorporating it into their literary learning with language, art, some things also dealing with math. I love making it where it did not feel like it was a topic for school, but it was like it was fun. And I found that and even if it wasn't fun, it was a different approach. So instead of reading a history book, we watched a history movie. Okay, even though we did read, but when I saw that it was kind of draining and needed a change of venue, I found a documentary on the topic and we watched it. I found the game on history. We played the game, and as they're getting the answers right and wrong, mainly when they get the questions wrong, they're learning. They're learning, okay? And so, and then we got back to that question again. They knew the answer. So think outside the box. So when you're adapting to learning your child's learning style, you need to understand these key factors and be patient, because I would tell people, give it about 12 months when you first start that transition from taking your child from public school to homeschool. Because think about it, public school is not real. They really don't care about your learning style because they have so many students they have to attend to at one time. So how are they going to customize it to 35 students? Not likely. And so, but the cool and beautiful thing about homeschooling is that you have the time that you can really sit back and learn your child's unique learning style. And while you're learning theirs, you'll be learning yours as well. Is your child a visual learner? Children that are visual learners usually learn better from seeing things versus hearing things. But then you have people that are audio. So wait, let me go back to a visual. So children that are visual learners, they benefit from visual aids like charts, diagrams, videos, written instructions. Children that are audio learners, they benefit from listening, hearing the lecture, participating in discussions, listening to audio books, podcasts, or recordings. Kinetic learners, which I spoke about earlier, these individuals learn best from hands-on activities and active movement. They use building models, conducting experiments, and physical objects to understand the concept of whatever it is that you're teaching. Now, my children was a microcosm. They were very eclectic. There was a blend of all of these things based upon the topic that we was learning. So I knew how to pivot based upon the subject of their strengths and their weaknesses. So a good thing for you as a parent is to understand and to know the strengths and the weaknesses of your child's learning, the topics which they're weak in, the topics which they're strong in, because based upon that, we'll be able to determine what you should do. One thing I would say that you should always be is very flexible. Some people are so into having been down to the letter, not giving any wiggle room for life unexpected stuff, right? You got to be flexible, be willing to adjust, and use the appropriate resources that align with your child's learning style. Create a comfortable learning environment for your child. Some children, they cannot concentrate in a noisy environment. Some children, they thrive with music playing noisy. So figuring out what helps that child. And then allowing that child to be able to do whatever it is, even if you don't truly understand it. I didn't realize until later on that my son thrived with listening to music when he he's reading. So when I started playing music, I noticed that he got done with his work. He was more happier, upbeat. My daughter, she does that as well too. So I made sure that during certain times of the day, I played different type of music based upon the stress level of the topic. So I knew that math brought stress to my daughter. So I played calming music when she was doing math. I knew that my son, when he reads, because he's dyslexic, it was hard. So, but he needs to move because he's a kinetic learner, right? So what I should do is play upbeat music, because while he's reading, he's jumping around, right? So he can jump to the beat and read. So you need to take time to really study your children like a topic, like a subject, so that you can get to know it, and then you can apply everything based upon that. We are about to take a small break. So I encourage you right now, because we have hit that almost an hour threshold. So I encourage you to go right now and take a break, stretch your legs, go to the restroom. Go to the restroom and get you some snack. Go eat you something. Go hug your kid. Go take a break. And then you come back, and then we're going to talk about creating a homeschool schedule and environment. You have been doing absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of you, and I will see you back in a moment. And just like that, we are back, and we're talking about creating a homeschooling schedule and environment. So how can you create a homeschool schedule and environment that will be flexible and effective? First, you need to balance the structure and the flexibility in your homeschool. And I would say do this day by day, because think about you when you work a traditional job. Some days you feel good, some days you don't feel good, right? So that's the same thing when you're homeschooling. You can't expect every day to be a happy day. You want it to be a happy day, but of course, we're people with feelings and emotions, okay? And so keep that in mind. So with establishing a routine, you need to start with by just having a basic, daily or weekly routine. This includes, some people like to be more stringent, where they have like a certain time they get up. Then some people, they're more like, okay, we're going to ease on in the day. When our eyes open, that's when we start the day. So whatever it is, however you do it, that'll be fine. One thing that I'll encourage you to do is to take breaks throughout the day and take time for extracurricular activities, because you can get so tied into your homeschooling experience that you stay in the house a little too much. So don't forget to go outside, stretch your legs, take a break, do your homework outside. Like literally, I would take our homeschool down to the lake, and we would do our work at the lake. And out there, just you'll be surprised a change of venue, how it changed the entire mood. I also allow for flexibility, because sometimes I have like a very heavy schedule plan, because I wanted us to get so much done by a certain time frame, and then the children wake up and they don't feel good, or they don't feel sick, but they feel kind of molly, like I'm not sick, but I just don't feel upbeat. Or that could be me myself, right? And so children need more time on certain topics. So sometimes you have like 45 minutes on this topic, 15 minutes on that topic. But say, for example, that child need an hour or need more, or maybe they need to stop because they're drained for the day. You need to allow for flexibility so they can adapt, okay? Because you don't want to cause a stressful environment. You want it to be stress-free learning. You also need to set clear priorities. Some things are non-negotiable. Sometimes, our kids are smart. Sometimes they figure out that we try to be a little flexible. They try to like take advantage of that flexibility. So if you see you got a little smart child trying to do that, now you need to put clear boundaries and clear priorities on what you need to do for that homeschooling day, based upon the subject that need to be completed by a certain time frame. I start really working on time frames a whole lot when my children got in high school because, okay, they're almost adults, you know, they're teens or preteens, and they need to get started getting used to structure, time stamps, and all the different stuff like that. Because eventually, if they're not working for you, if you're an entrepreneur, they are going to have to work for someone else, and they can't work their own schedule, right? And even as an entrepreneur, you have certain things that you have to do at a certain time. So I felt like during that time frame, I had to have more structure, and it worked out perfectly for the fact that now my son transitioned into the workplace very effectively, and it worked out very, very well. My daughter as well. So what are some tips for managing multiple children? Many of you don't have 2 children or 1 child. You have 3, 4, 5. Some of you have 10 or more children. So one thing that I personally love is unit studies, because you can teach all of your children, regardless of the ages or abilities, the same topic at the same time. You just do the build up method like a Lego. You give the child enough information based on that subject of what they can handle by their emotional and their chronological age. So using group lessons when possible, like when you're doing history and science and literature, those are topics that you can migrate all your little people together and also your older children together. One thing, if you have a younger set of children and an older set of children, you can have your older set of children helping the younger set of children. And that can give you some time to be able to take a break, okay? You also can help them with consider staggering. You don't want to stagger your children's learning. So while one child is working independently on the subject, you can focus on another child. So figure out what that child needs, because some children need that kind of one-on-one, and some children prefer to be by themselves. Utilizing your older children, like I said, as mentors to help your younger children will prove not only to be beneficial to teach your children how to work with each other, but also it helps you as a parent to be able to run the household while you're homeschooling. You can create an independent learning time. What I used to do is I used to create these little tables where I would have subject based. I call them learning stations. I have a math station. I have an English. I have a science. I have one for extracurricular activities. I used to have all the different ones, and those topics and those tables was all in the house, and they could pick wherever they want to start. So if they want to start with PE, they can start with PE. But the rule was, by the end of the day, they had to have all the subjects done. It didn't matter which order they did them in, but they had to have everything done by the end of the day. What does that do for a child? That gives them that independence. They give them that control they want. And you will see they would more than likely get completed with every single thing, even the things that they don't really like, because they are able to pick when they want to do it, versus you saying, do this subject now. It worked very well for me. So I highly, highly recommend that you incorporate breaks, extracurricular activity, and family time. Family time is not homeschooling, even though we do say that. Family time is the relaxed time, the one-on-one, the family time that you have that is aside from any type of homeschool learning. So watching a movie, taking a walk, going to the ice cream shop, going to the store, going to the movies, that's family time. Extracurricular activities, your child in soccer, your child on basketball, swimming, whatever, cheerleading, music class, incorporating breaks. So I found that works good for our kids when it was a topic that was not ideal to have 20 minutes on, 5 to 10 minutes off. Or when we had to get some stuff done, 45 minutes on, 15 to 20 minutes off. They look forward to the break. Even though they had to work really hard for the 45 minutes, they look forward to their 15, 20-minute break. All right. And so that's called block scheduling. But I will always add in some time. And actually, my doctor, children pediatrician, actually suggested that for me. She was a doctor, or is a doctor, and she said she could not study longer. She knows as she studied longer than 45 minutes, everything past 45 minutes she didn't retain. And so, and it was some scientific proof about anything past 45 minutes, you usually don't retain that knowledge. So I started doing that, and it worked very, very well for us. You need to set up a productive learning environment. So when you're home, so I would say this, when you're homeschooling, your house is not going to be neat. So if you have OCD or you're a neat freak, woo, it's gonna really run you up the wall. You have to get used to it, because while you're learning is messy. Okay, learning is messy. You may start out everything real nice and clean, but as your kids are learning and playing with these projects, these hands-on projects, and all this other stuff, like, it gets very messy. So you need to create, for ones who want to kind of control the mess a little bit, you can have a dedicated room or dedicated area where you do all of the learning, so that you can kind of keep everything organized. And then after the day is over, everybody take a part in cleaning up the learning area. You also can make it very comfortable. I got beanbag chairs. I got like hammocks. I got oversized pillows. I got various different lighting that will make it a very comfortable learning space. Okay. So think about how your house is situated, and where are you learning? You learn at the kitchen table, or you learning in a room, you learning in the basement. How are you learning? Because if you're learning in the basement with no natural light, then maybe you should bring in artificial vitamin D light, because light actually helps change the mood for positivity. So think about the space, because the space can have a great deal on the approach that you should do, and the emotional well-being of your children, okay, and yourself. If you notice that every time you homeschool, you're sad, you're stressed, you're aggravated, you're frustrated, then look at the space that you're in while teaching. If it's very unorganized, it's very just frustrating, that's why. Change around some things, put some lighter colors inside the room where it's more fun and festive. If you like essential oils, distill some essential oils, so that you can smell citrus-based oils that make you happy, or get some fruit, play some music, do some things to change your environment. So you can organize your material, your resources, and your technology for easy access. I used to have like little cubby holes and different little pockets that's to hang on the wall that I can put the folders in for storage. I used to have this armoire that I to stack different things in. And the kids knew where they can go at to get extra things or whatever like that. So create a system for your homeschool. That could be with your schoolwork, the folders, binders, filing system, record system, keeping grades. Just simple with the manipulatives and the hands-on things that you use day to day with your children, the books, the videos, the electronic devices. So it's good for you to incorporate practical life skills. Many times this is something that parents leave off, but I will highly encourage you as young as possible to incorporate life skills to help your child so they can be more prepared for being an adult. Daily responsibilities, teaching them about time management, helping them to focus on problem solving and not just complaining that something's not working right. Teach them how to problem solve. And if you don't know how to do it effectively yourself, then you can work on it as a family. You can do puzzles. You can do real life scenarios. You can find television shows or movies or cartoons that they're trying to solve a problem, and then ask them questions about it. You can create projects around problem solving. You can, with teaching them time management, you can give them a certain amount of time that they need to do in order to fulfill or complete a certain task or subject or thing. And based upon if they finish or not, you can award or not award certain things based upon that, to teach them that they have to have proper time management. And also balancing out your daily routines, chores, cooking, budgeting. All these things are very great for you to be incorporating with your children, along with physical education, PE. Do some play, do sports, dance, exercise. All these things are great things that you can do. You can turn on YouTube and find an exercise video, and all you guys can be in there exercising, having a good time, turn on some music, and just get a good two-step in there. I mean, it's so many things that you can do. We even have like tap shoes and all kind of things we should do. You can incorporate art and get you some easels and some canvases and paint, or you can just have regular paper and some, go to Dollar Tree and get you some paint and paper. You don't have to be that expensive, but I have a child that is an artist, so I had to get the canvas and the real paint brushes and the easels and all of that. But to encourage that creativity. Or if you don't have any of that, you can look for community-centered things in your community and get your children involved in those community services. We volunteered a lot. We also went to different camps and different things that our children was able to participate in, which are all things to build solid life skills. Socialization. Woo, now this is a topic that many people go back and forth with, from the public school parents to the homeschooling parents, to the family and friends, to the homeschooling family and friends. Like they go back and like, you shouldn't homeschool because of socialization. Them children need to be socialized. So let's talk about it. Socialization and building a homeschooling community. So when you understand what socialization is, it can be a key concern when you're homeschooling your children, but you can understand, once you understand the realities of it and how you can literally be more socialized than any other public school child that you know, because of the flexibility of time and because homeschoolers are really active. Like we're really, really active. When they're doing the school hours, a child is in public school, sitting in a classroom behind four walls, we usually at museums, we outside, we're canoeing, we're doing all kinds of things. So let's talk about some myths and facts about socialization. The myth is that homeschooling children are isolated and lack social skills. But the fact is that many homeschooling children engage in various social activities such as clubs and co-ops, sports teams, and community events. They often have ample opportunities to interact with peers and adults in diverse settings, and that is true. Now, some children are not socialized like that, but the bulk of homeschooling children are very much socialized. I mean, I was tired because we always traveling all the time, doing different things. Myth is homeschooling prevents children from experiencing real world social interactions. In my case, that wasn't true, because homeschooling can actually provide you with a wide range of social experiences, like when you're putting your child in all these events, more so than traditional school setting. Yes, just because your child go to public school, that does not mean that they're having any type of real world social interaction with children. They're just in the midst of people. Like, you can go to work and never talk to anybody. You're in the midst of people, right? So if you're just in the midst of people, meaning that you're there, but you're not actively engaging, it's still not socialization. Ideally, it just means that you went to a place, you're around people, and that is it. All right. And so whether you're homeschooled or public school, that's just the truth of the matter. And so many people feel that homeschool children are shy and struggle with communication. Now, that with some children, that is true, but that happens with public school children as well. It's not just a homeschool thing. It is a child or teenager thing. But social skills, they vary based upon the child's age and the various different factors regarding their schooling environment. And that's whether they're homeschooled or not. And so the good thing is that as a parent, for me, my child was excessively shy, but she talked to who she wanted to talk to. Now, my son was a whole lot more outgoing, but yeah, well, is more outgoing. You'll probably hear him in the background right now talking to his friends. But anywho, every child is different. And so the core is you want to be able to put your child in situations and environments that they can build peer relationships. So having them a part of social and in-person groups to help them develop, they can learn to work in teams, they can navigate, they can be a part of different activities, they can connect with different co-ops. all different things so that they can facilitate building a peer relationship. They also can develop social skills by being around other homeschooling children and working through various activities, not only with their siblings, but also with their family and also with people who they don't know, by being a part of these different activities, such as sports, community involvement, co-ops, and the list goes on and on. The public library usually have a lot of free classes available that you can take and you can engage. So if you notice that that still is not working for you, you can create your own supportive network. So as a parent, you can go out and seek parents getting together to have conversations, and then maybe they have children and everybody meet up and start being more social. You find out what exactly works for you guys and then keep it going. Again, you can search for local groups. You can attend events and meetups, and you can also join co-ops. You can plan field trips, schedule play dates, create group activities. If you are constrained because of distance, or you live like off the grid or in the country, well, not off the grid, but in the country, and you can't come to the city that much, then facilitate social environments. Utilize social media in a positive way. But of course, with social media, you want to make sure you do due diligence. But if you're building a community yourself, you can really oversee it better than being just a part of somebody else's group. You can join online forums and groups like CTR Homeschooling have. We have social media forums, but we also have on our website where it's private with our app. So eventually what we're going to do, the goal is to have where children can meet up under their parents' guidance. We can meet with each other, but we're working on it because we're looking at safety parameters when you having minors and teens all in one spot. But we're really thinking how we're going to do it. And if someone already has something like that, then maybe working with them, because you want to make sure you have strong safety in mind when you are building something for children. But you can participate also in virtual classes, you and your children. You can use social media and all of that. You can be a part of different sport team groups, art programs, community service, diversity activities, academia, extracurricular activities. You can just explore. The list goes on and on. So number 5, assessing progress and adapting your approach. Okay, so as homeschooling parents, it's going to come a time where you using something, a curriculum, or you're doing something, you're like, man, this thing's just not working. I know I paid this X amount of dollars and I want to make it work, but it's just not working. And you finally come to the conclusion, I'm not going to try to make it work. I'm going to figure it out. Something else. And so, because I want my child to do better. So therefore, you're going to want to start assessing your child and tracking their academic progress. So how can you do that? You can observe them regularly by the different lessons that you give them, and then you can gauge your understanding and engagement either by test taking, oral engagement with them, real life scenarios to kind of see whether they excel in the topic or whether they are still struggling, and then look for different ways to do it. You can do informal assessments such as quizzes, like I said, oral questions, discussions, comprehension, all those things. Or you can do formal, where you implement more structured written tests or exams. All of this is based upon your family, your unique homeschool, and the approach that you want to take with your child or children to track their academic progress. You can also use portfolios, meaning when you're keeping your records, you can base the previous work on the current work to see, is it any improvement? Is it the same, or is it declining? You, based upon your state, some people are required to do report cards like we are. And so based upon those progress report, you can determine whether or not your child needs to do a little bit more, or they're good, or they're excelling. You can also do standardized tests as well. So the best thing for you to do to adapt curriculum or teaching methods or styles is to base it upon your child's strengths and weaknesses. Like I told you earlier, once you identify those strengths and weaknesses, regular assessments will be better. And then observing your kids and how they grow. And I will let you know this: as your child grows, your toddler versus your 5 to 11-year-old is different. Okay. You'll start noticing changes in your child hormonal wise, because when they start going through puberty. And so what worked when your child was pre-puberty versus being in puberty can definitely change the learning. And so what I found, even with both children, when puberty hit, I had to address things a whole lot differently. What worked then did not work now. So that's why you need to start customizing their learning materials and getting a good handle on what their strengths and weaknesses are now, so that you can adjust a little bit better and pivot better. You also need to work on pacing. Sometimes you need to go a little bit slower on certain subjects. Take your time versus going too fast, because sometimes you just need a little bit more time on a certain topic or a certain piece of a topic. And you'll be able to determine that based upon the assessment of the child on how they're doing. There are different strategies that you can do when you are overcoming learning challenges and to keep encouragement high. So when you are studying or helping your child, and that is a topic that is not their best topic, you want to still help them be able to overcome that learning challenges by being positive and keeping the engagement and the environment high. So you want to employ different teaching strategies to be more diverse. You want to use more hands-on and kinetics learning, meaning getting up, moving, visual aids, discussions with audio materials and auditory learners. You want to incorporate more interest-led things when you know it's a challenge for them. You want to take regular breaks, and you want to use the reward system when you see that they are making progress, even if it's small, to reward them, because this is their weak topic and they're going to need constant, positive, engaging reinforcement for them to be able to keep going and keep achieving. You also want to seek out external, meaning outside of you, support for your child. Maybe you can find a child that is really good at that topic, or maybe getting a homeschool consultant to support them in that encouragement. Whatever the case may be, make sure that you do whatever it takes in order to help your child when they need to overcome a certain learning challenge. So we're going to touch this a little bit when you can prepare your child for high school, because planning for high school, college, and graduation, this is a whole different topic. We're going to touch it a little bit on this. We'll go a little deeper in some other webinars a little bit later. But before your child get into high school, you need to be pretty much preparing for this in middle school. How many high school credits they need to have? What do they want to do? How can you prepare them for that? What's the necessary coursework, course study that they need to do? You need to start preparing their transcripts so they can maintain, especially if you are your child want to go to college. And if your child want to go to college and it's a certain college that they want to attend, you need to know whether or not that school requires an SAT or ACT before they can actually get accepted, and what is the scores that they need to have in order to do it. So I encourage all parents to start preparing for this in middle school, not waiting till they get in high school to prepare. You need to start in middle school. And if you're doing dual enrollment, this allows a parent to have a child in high school, and they can also be taking college courses and earn college credit while they're still in high school. So this will help a child in high school to be able to graduate with their bachelor's degree or their associate's fairly soon. Like, it speeds up because they can do it all at the same time. There are so many different homeschooling cases where their 19-year-old have a PhD. 20-some-year-old got a PhD. Why? Because they did dual enrollment. While they was in high school, they was also doing college courses. Like my daughter, She actually was doing dual enrollment as well. And so she actually graduated and had her certifications for pet psychology, pet anatomy, pet grooming, all this stuff, right? She actually graduated from that school before she got her high school diploma. So here she is, like literally went on job interviews for a job. They couldn't believe it. They was like, oh my God, this girl got more qualifications than me. And so they told her that she needed to go work at the pet hospital because of all of her qualifications. Because your child will be in a situation where if they are working towards their career, they'll be able to get paid top dollar in the beginning. But if they're working towards going to college, they won't have to be in college that long. And they more than likely will have a scholarship or scholarships. Most of them have full ride scholarships because they're doing so well. And you can look for accredited programs if you're a little bit worried about your younger child being in college on a campus. There are accredited programs that your child can take online to do dual enrollment, so they can still be in the comfort of their own home and taking college courses alongside their high school courses for the younger ones that you might not want your 14-year-old at a college with 20-year-old people. I don't blame you. So what about handling the challenge and staying motivated? Because all these good things that we can do as homeschooling parents, but the truth of the matter is there's a good side and not so good side about homeschooling. People talk about the good, but do they talk about the homeschooling burnout? Do they talk about the homeschooling blues? I call it homeschooling depression that can happen, that can be associated with homeschooling, because it can become isolating if you are the only one in your immediate family that's homeschooling. How can you stay motivated when you are doing your very best to instruct your children and teach them on their learning style, and you think you got it right, but it's still just not working, or the children may not want to learn. They just like, I'm tired of this. Like, how can you still keep everything going and stay motivated? So homeschooling can be an incredibly rewarding experience overall. But we're going to talk about the negative side of it right now, because I want you to understand all of this before you say, hey, I'm going to jump all the way in to homeschooling thinking that it's all peaches and cream all the time. Now, this is not to discourage you from homeschooling. This is just, hey, I'm being honest with you, okay? I'm being honest with you. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a thing that you can do. And once you decide to do it, it's going to be amazing, but it's going to also be like that roller coaster. It's going to have ups, downs, twists, and turns. But ultimately, if you continue, you will reach the finish line. So how can you as a parent manage all the responsibilities of homeschooling, which is a full-time job? You may be working a full-time job. You have a newborn or babies or all various different ages. You have a mate and you have your parents and friends. How can you do this, right? You need to really be in tune with your body so you can identify burnout. And burnout usually occurs when parents or children feel overwhelmed by the demands that can be associated with homeschooling and just regular day-to-day life. You start getting irritable, fatigued, you get lost of interest in learning, you start feeling physically and emotionally drained. That could be for the parents, or it can also be for the children, or a combination of both. When you start identifying that you have burnout, it's time to take a break, okay? Taking a break do not mean that you are weak. It does not mean that you are a failure. It just means that you are human. And all homeschooling parents feel like this, not just once, from time to time. And if they're not telling you that, then they're not being honest with you, because all of us feel it from time to time. I have felt it more than from time to time, but it's normal. Okay, it's normal. Just like if you work a regular job, sometimes you feel burnt out. You're just not feeling it. Somebody at your job come want to talk to you. You don't want to talk to nobody. You be like, leave me alone. I just came to work and that's it. Don't talk to me. So it's the same thing with homeschooling, because in essence, it's a job. Okay. And so the solution for burnout is that you need to schedule breaks. And when you are doing homeschooling, you just don't need to be going straight through from one topic to the next, to the next, to the next. You need to incorporate regular breaks throughout the day so that you can recharge for yourself and for your children. Short breaks between each lesson or longer breaks during the year, such as holidays or light weeks, can help you a lot. So I tend to school my kids. The only time that I really kind of followed or kind of did the same thing that public school was doing the Christmas holidays when most of my family was off. Like I would let them take off the last 2 weeks of the year. Number one is because my husband and I anniversary is the 15th. And then we have a lot of family and different stuff like that. And so we traditionally take those 2 weeks off at the end of every year. But during the school year, we took days off as we needed it. Okay. And then when we felt good and great, we would do extra work so that we could take off. Like we could literally, when our children had their days in, we could literally be out of school April or May if we wanted to. But we took really light days because we didn't have to do extra school. We just wanted to do more school, right? Just to keep them with the regularity. You can also delegate homeschooling responsibilities to your partner, to your spouse. You can hire a tutor. You can do different things to delegate those activities. You can make sure you have your children do certain things. You also can simplify your approach by reducing the number of activities and subjects and topics that you teach in one day. Okay, you can focus on your core subjects, or you can gradually do a little bit at a time. I encourage you, if you're having a hard time getting through all of your subject, I encourage you to do unit studies, because unit studies blend a lot of topics together. So when you're studying one thing, you're studying more than one thing at one time. So instead of studying literature, you're doing math, you're doing art, you're doing a little bit of that, everything, right? And so you will have more time to kind of get things done. Also, self-care for parents. This is usually what parents do not do. They put all the time, the effort into the family, running the household, and they do not do the same for themselves. And so they experience burnout. And so when they experience burnout, you notice that you start getting very irritated very quickly. You're with your children, you're just irritated just with everybody. And they didn't do anything to you, right? That's because you're drained. So take some time for yourself. Exercise. Do something that you love. Do something that has not a thing to do with your kids, your significant other, or homeschooling. I'm talking about something that's just frivolous. Watch a TV show. Eat some potato chips. Put your feet up. Do nothing. How about that? Do nothing for a certain period of time. How about that? Close your eyes and take a deep breath and exhale. All right, do something that you really like. Go someplace where you really want to go. And so do that. And then there's some things that you need to address too. Sometimes you have to address conflict, dealing with the siblings, the children, mommy, daddy. So understand that that's going to happen because you're in the home and you're around each other more than the average family. So a certain type of things, conflicts that you may have because of the fact that you're around each other more than the average family is around each other in a 24-hour period of time. And sometimes that can get a little bit irritating. But once we realize how blessed we are to be able to do it, that only happens normally when you get burned out. That's why I say get your rest. So some strategies from doing this: having clear expectations, setting clear rules and boundaries and for behavior and participation in homeschooling, making sure that everybody in the household understands rules, all the family members, even down to the little boo-boos, the little 2 to 3-year-olds. You give them a little yes ma'am, no ma'am kind of thing, right? Be consistent with your discipline. Do not flip-flop. If it's something that is a non-negotiable, it is non-negotiable. I don't care how cute your little baby face is, or your daughter or your son. They give you them little bubbly little eyes and their little sweet little face. If it's a non-negotiable, it is a non-negotiable, because you do have to set the standard and be consistent with whatever the consequences that you lay out for bad behavior. Okay, whether it's taking away a game, taking away the internet, they can't go to their friend's house for a party, whatever it is that is in your family, you need to stick to it, because what? Because believe this, children do as you do, not as you say. Let me say that again. Children do as you do, not as you say. Because many times we say, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, right. Them children watching you. So if you let Kevin get away with it, but Melissa can't get away with it, or vice versa, then it's gonna cause tension with the family. Gonna be like, you showing favoritism. Mama loved this child, or daddy loved this child more than the other one. So you got to be very careful with being lenient with some children versus being overly strict with the other child. Conflict resolution techniques. So helping your family be able to, as well as yourself, being able to effectively communicate, to show that empathy and compassion when necessary. And you can model that type of behavior that you wish your children to have, because like I said, they do as you do and not as you say. Having regular family meetings, especially when you see that it's some conflict or some tension in the family, then you need to stop what you're doing and have a family meeting, and allow every person in the family to speak, so that you can discuss the issues and so that you can reach a solution. You also need to take this time to celebrate the successes of the children and also the family members in the family, to let them know that you see them, you're so proud of them, and congratulations. This also build that strong family bond, knowing that your family got your back, right? And you need to make sure that you need to be flexible to make any type of adjustments that's necessary based upon your family's current situation. Sometimes when we make out our homeschooling plan, we make it out with the best intentions of our current situation right now. But life be lifing sometime, and sometimes some things unexpectedly come up, which therefore will make you have to change your plan to adjust to your current situation, and that is okay. Time management, being flexible, multitasking, seeking help, all that helps you with balancing your homeschool with work and other responsibilities. You want to stay motivated and inspired, have some goals, set up a vision board, color, celebrate the successes, have visual progress with charts and journals. You want to follow your interests. You want to interact with learning. You want to have positive reinforcement. You want to have diverse learning materials so your child can have a robust learning experience, from books to videos to online courses, interactive apps. You want to mix it up and keep the learning fresh and exciting. You also want to prioritize self-care. We prioritize the educational experience sometimes more than the self-care, but self-care is even more important, because without the self-care being implemented like it's supposed to be, what happens is it starts trickling into your personal and also your homeschool life. There are some things that should never be negotiable, and your health should never be negotiable. So you need to make sure your children, as well as yourself as the homeschooling instructor, a homeschooling parent or guardian, that you have regular exercise, you eat well, you get adequate sleep, you have time for relaxation, to maintain your energy and have a solid mental health. You need to stay connected with your social connections, if that's what you do. Have your homeschooling parents group, your friends support groups, and you guys can share experiences, share your feelings, provide emotional support. And on the side, guess what? It is so important that the parent or parents have their own interests, and they pursue their own interests in the midst of homeschooling your children, because what can happen, I'm speaking from experience, is that you can lose yourself in the homeschooling experience. It's all about your kids, right? But within that, you don't want to forget about yourself. That is self-care. So what is it that mom want to do? What is it that dad want to do? What is it that the grandparents want to do? Or whomever is the guardian of the children? What is it that you want to do aside from providing an excellent homeschooling and family environment for your child, your significant other, or children? What is it that brings you joy? Think about that. You want to seek support and continue your education. One thing, and continuing education, that does not necessarily mean you're going back to school. It can just mean that you're putting yourself in a situation to have different courses online. You can read different books, watch different videos, or listen to different podcasts, go to conferences, workshops. do your own reading and research, all of that to help you with personal development for as a homeschooling parent. And it's also great for your children to be part of personal development as well, especially when they get older. You want to find mentorship and networking opportunities from homeschooling networks and mentorship programs to professional associations. All these will help you handle the challenges of homeschooling and stay motivated while homeschooling. Module 7, preparing for the homeschooling journey, because apparently you thought that was preparing you. Well, guess what? We have some more, because now you have all this information and now we're getting ready to dig just a tad bit deeper. So building your confidence as a homeschooling parent, you're going to have to embark on a lot of different things. Some things that you're going to feel a little daunting, like, I don't know if I'm doing it right, but you got to build your confidence by providing yourself with positive and effective learning experience for your child. Understand your role as a parent. Develop a positive mindset to overcome your self-doubt. Many times as homeschooling parents, we doubt our ability to be able to homeschool our children effectively. And this happens whether you have a degree in college or not. I have taught and consulted with people who have multiple degrees from people who do not have any degrees, and both sides feel like they have that self-doubt. So you have to build that confidence. So by understanding your role, embracing your growth, having positive affirmations, and learning from others, that will help you avoid all of this self-doubt. Also, setting achievable goals for yourself as a homeschooling parent instructor. Being flexible is also the key, and having that patience and compassion for yourself. Also, when it deals with the financial, many people don't think about the financial weight that it can incur when you are homeschooling your children. Of course, you can do things for free and inexpensive, but at the end of the day, it's still going to cost you something. So don't go in blind thinking, oh, I can just homeschool for free. No, because even free has something that you have to do. Even if you have to pay for a printer in order to print your work, you're still paying for something. So what is your realistic financial budget or planning? How much are you putting aside for curriculum? And if you do have a child that's gifted and talented, are you being able to address those needs and provide curriculum or resources so that it can help them thrive? What about if you have a child that has a learning difference or fall in special needs? They're going to need special adaptivity, different things, apps, and maybe they need other resources. They're going to need other resources. So can you do that, right? Or do you have access to resources that can facilitate helping you with the potential expenses of the curriculum, the school supplies, the extracurricular activities, the field trips, and the one-time costs, the recurring costs, being part of a homeschooling co-op? Things that can really just help you overcome or help you save is using used materials, utilizing free resources, going to homeschooling co-ops, finding libraries or places that's giving away free books, exploring financial aid and grants for homeschooling parents. Yes, they do have some grants and some support in some areas for that. When I started homeschooling, I did not know any of this. I wish I would have, because I would have used it, but now they do have that, because you can literally flip your homeschool into a nonprofit or business and have the whole thing funded. And that's a whole different topic that I need to do on another day. But researching options, okay? Research your particular town or organization or city to see if they have financial aids, grants, scholarships for homeschooling. Community resources such as libraries, museums, educational centers, because many of them offer free or discounted programs to homeschoolers. And as a homeschooling parent, you can get the teachers, you can get the teachers discount in a lot of stores that public school teachers get. So you can get a percentage, 10 to 20% off on whatever you buy at various different stores with the teachers discount. You also can prepare by having an outline of what you want to do, the different milestones that you want to hit, the curriculum choices you want to have, the homeschooling schedule. You also need to stay very organized. So you're going to need a planner, calendar, whether it's a digital or paperback. I like to have paper, but I'm old school. And you need to keep track of your child's progress, appointments, and activities. You also need to prepare now for flexibility, because it's very important in the planning to not plan everything out to the max, but allow for flexibility, because things going to come up, things are going to happen, and you do not want to put undue stress on yourself because you pack your schedule way, 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 way too much. Be realistic. Also, you need to establish a support system of resources, like we said before: community, seeking mentorship, family and friends. You need to reflect on those goals, long-term and short-term. Setting long-term goals. What's the vision for your family's futures, for your child's future? Do regular reflections of your homeschooling experience. Now, this is the fun part, the final project homeschool action plan. So now we have discussed all of this very different information. And like I said before, you do not have to worry about it, because you're going to get a free download of all of this as well. But I also want to make sure that you can build out your action plan. So dealing with these goals and different things like that, I want you to I want you to scan this QR code, and I actually have 7 steps ebook to creating your homeschooling action plan. Let me read it again. I have an ebook that's entitled 7 Steps to Creating Your Homeschooling Action Plan. And with that, it's going to help you set your long-term goals. It's going to help you with your vision. It's going to help you with the reflection. It's going to help you have clarity. And now that you have decided to homeschool, or maybe you are a parent who is in the baby stage of just homeschooling, or you could be a veteran just being a little nosy. You want to know what's going on over here, honey. You can compare this with your experience. Whatever the case may be, this can help you as a veteran homeschooler, or a newbie, or someone who is thinking about homeschooling. Go ahead and save this course, this class, webinar, class, course, whatever you want to call it. And make sure that you scan this to get this free gift, because you're going to be able to get this download so that you can be able to effectively start out on the right foot. I am Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, and I thank you so much for allowing me to be before you on today and to help you with the information in regards to the 7 things that you need to know. Yes, the 7 things that you need to know before you start homeschooling. I hope that you enjoyed this particular presentation, and there will be some more presentations coming your way, along with curriculum suggestions. You can be redirected and visit our website at ctrmedianetwork.com. We have a whole lot of free content, along with a 24/7, 7 days a week online TV channel that plays helpful information about homeschooling. Yes, about homeschooling. So you can go to ctrhomeschooling.com. That's ctrmedianetwork.com. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next webinar/course video. Make sure to comment below and send us contact us. We would love to help you. And I'll talk to you later.